Let's keep it here. Who else would it be? This is the Bitcoin brief for Wednesday, April 16th. Hope you've had a good day. I've been in and out past couple days. A few things I couldn't avoid, things like that. But the markets have kind of been back and forth as well. Um, there's a lot of news and things going on there. To be honest with you, I'm just kind of tired of addressing it because I keep saying the same things over again. You got to stop paying attention to it. The market's not doing anything, okay? The market's not doing anything relative to what you are trying to figure out what the news is doing, okay? And that's all it is to it. You focus on the trend, focus on the momentum. Everything else is going to be noise unless you have a specific back testing strategy that you've used before, like flow strategies, things like that. Um, that works for you. If it hasn't worked for you, stop paying attention, get to the charts. So anyway, speaking of which, we're going to get to the charts here, and we're going to focus on here on, I see they just did some redesigns here a little bit. We're going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, pretty much the same thing as we always do. And so with this, we're kind of stuck within this range really for the past week so far. We're up here today. We're actually kind of up a little bit above the past 2 days. So that's something. Okay, it's not really a lot though. Another good thing is we have the bullish consolidation. It's a very small one, about 35%. So it's going to be smaller than normal to work with. With these price ranges here, this entire thing. This is a weekly level here. The entire thing composes the range high to range low, but the inside of these are the swing order blocks. That's where the liquidity is going to come into play, and this is going to be on the daily here that we're working with. That's one reason we're getting this rejection here, is because we have to break through these red zones first, and so that's something you got to keep in mind. Or there's these smaller ones in case you don't have black and white, or you can't see color, I guess, but. And so also too on our side, we're kind of hovering above 50. This is actually probably one of the most simplest, inspiring things. I know I get made fun of a lot for this, but it is something. Okay, it is something that is telling us that the momentum is kind of working in our favor a little bit. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean much in detail, but it does mean something as far as how I'm taking it. The worst is going to be over here. I'm not in the opinion that every rally needs to be sold into. Okay. Do I think that we're going to stall? I think that's a chance that we will, and so we'll see where that goes. I looked at, on the first brief I did a few days ago. I thought we would fade until now, and that's pretty much what we've gotten. Okay, because our high here, back from I say back, and on April 12th, we've pretty much faded that. We haven't had a big fade either. I actually think this is a good sign. It's holding up. Momentum's holding up. With RSI, consolidation's also holding up. It's not necessarily a bullish momentum, but it is taking away from the bearish trend, so that is a good sign as well. All of this means that there is some new interest in this turning around. Okay, people are starting to get attractive towards Bitcoin at this price range. Okay, so we'll see how it goes. It might take a little bit more, but I still think this is pretty decent. So we'll see where that goes. I haven't done observations with Otsu yet. I'm going to do that later tonight. Like I said, I had it planned earlier today, actually early yesterday, and I just had a lot of errands I had to do. I had some cart situations, things like that. So, but the weekly is not looking too bad. It closed above the breakout here. It also closed above the breakout on the daily, and that's one reason that we were looking at. Actually, this is not a correct level. It should be right here. So we closed pretty much above it, so that's kind of where I'm looking at it from this price range. So everything is looking pretty decent so far. It's honestly a matter of this range, and that's where, if you want to play it safe, you zoom out, you wait for these levels, 89,000 to the top side, 71.5 roughly for the downside. I'm kind of doing rounding, but the numbers here are on the screen. So RSI has not moved above to the momentum point here on the weekly, so that's of concern. But the bullish consolidation is pretty wide. Okay, roughly about 80%, about 78%. So not too bad. Let's go to the 4-hour, see if we can get something out of this. And honestly, getting a few rejections here on this zone. And so where's it at here? This tool, I always forget I put it on the down marker. So this is your range here. We're getting a rejection so far. Still got to kind of wait this out. Based on my experience, when you have something like this, when you have like kind of a rounded rejection and then another mini one, that tends to be like a full rejection. Because if you want to inverse this, this looks, and then you want to turn it sideways, this is basically a cup and handle. That's all that is. So, or even just an Adam and Eve. That's another way to look at it. So that's another hint. Like sometimes I don't like inverting scales, but sometimes inverting patterns do work when you inverse the scales. So just keep that in mind. And the reason I don't like inverse scales is because the momentum is different. A lot of people want to inverse the scale, and like, oh, but sometimes that means we'd have to go to like $100 Bitcoin to satisfy some of these things. Like it doesn't work because the momentum is much different, especially on Bitcoin, which is typically a very bullish asset. Now that's going to, over time, that's going to scale down. Actually, it's not going to be, we're never going to get the 1,000,000% performances like we had gotten, like from Bitcoin from $1 to $100,000. What is that, like that's a pretty big X. And so 100,000, I guess. So I don't think we're going to get 100,000 X ever again on Bitcoin. So we'll see. I don't even know what number that is. So, but I'm looking at a rejection. Hopefully we can touch this mid, or hold above the mid, I should say, at 80,500. Now let's go ahead and go to Ethereum. Now one thing about Ethereum is I actually like the hold here on the mid. I think it's about 50-50 on whether people think that we're going to rally here. And actually, I want to say maybe 40-60. I think 60%. There's a little higher majority, or I guess the majority, not the higher majority. But I think the majority of people still think that we're bearish here. I disagree. I'm kind of in the minority on this one, but I understand why that makes more sense to them. So basically, based on all that. So one thing we have here is we are holding the mid on the weekly. We're still holding the mid for this week so far, halfway through it. I think it's a good sign. I don't understand. See, this is where levels and trend and momentum all take different doors at some point, right? Like I'm not expecting this to rally 100% here by tomorrow, and I think most people are. Okay. Everybody's looking for that V-shaped recovery. Everybody's looking for, insert easy thing to look at, right? But it's funny because nobody wants to see like, hey, this could be the bottom. And I made a YouTube video on this. Go ahead and check that out and subscribe if you haven't. But that doesn't mean that we're going to, go twice the price here by next week. I think it's very logical that we could stay at this price range for a month. Okay, and still be considered the bottom. Both of those can be true. Okay, like a lot of people just really think that being bullish means we're gonna go like 10x in 6 months. No, I just mean things are gonna go higher. That's all I mean by that, and that's all that you should mean by that. Okay, and if you want to mean something else, you explain that to your audience. Okay, and so that's where I disagree. And some people want the opportunity, but they don't want to wait, and that's okay. I'm a very patient. Well, I'm not. Well, my wife will say I'm not. But as far as charts go, let's put it this way. I'm okay waiting to buy at 1592, which is where it's at now, and just waiting it out for a year. Okay? Some of you may not be able to do it. That's completely fine. I don't know. I'm presenting it the way that I feel like it needs to be presented. I still think this is a bottom area, so we'll see how that goes. I think there's a lot of good protection here. I gave my reasons in that video. Again, it was a very good video. It's probably my top video for this year so far, so check that out if you want. As far as the weekly goes, we're holding it, and that's the point I was trying to say is that is very good, that we're holding this level, okay? And so the more attempts that we have, and it holds, typically that's good, unless it's a consolidation, and then it's not good. But as far as this goes, we faded into the mid. That's good. Consolidation here, bullish consolidation with 50%. That's average. Momentum is not that great, but we need to recover. We need to get above that 1670, and that's pretty much all it is with that one. 4 hour, giving us the same kind of situation here. It is holding this level here that I do like, but it needs to improve pretty quickly. However, so let's go to Solana. Now, Solana is something that we looked at here. I looked at these positions from this standpoint. Not doing too bad. It's up 5% versus the rest. And I think I made it on X. I made it in two different places. I said this on my X profile, and I also said this more in detail in the premium group. If you haven't joined, I'm going to extend that for one more day for today. There's only 3 hours left, so go ahead and join if you haven't. But I mentioned that Solana is looking better, and therefore meme coins are going to look better. And most of your high-performing coins as of late are meme coins and meme coin adjacent. Wincoin is up 35%, Foxy up 17%, Popcat 14%. Okay, Bongo up 12%. Okay, these are all coins that are doing pretty well so far, and even Ray is doing good at 12%. So that's all by, I think that's all by design. Okay, I think there's a reason for that. So I don't really have much else to say with Solana other than I think this is an amazing positioning right here. And so this is also on the daily, but I think the weekly is looking pretty good. So I'm paying attention more towards the weekly because I think this is a good rally. I think this might be the first to hit that. The first coin to hit its all-time high is going to be Solana, most likely. So anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe if you haven't and you want to. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of the day. And I guess we'll see you in a couple days. So have a good one. See you next time.